flight of capital from all the countries collectively has tripled since 2014. India creates very few millionaires. And out of the very few millionaires, when 3,500 leave, you have a crisis. You find the world is an unsafe place. Millionaires will always try to go from one place to another. Wherever the money is safe, the safest place that most millionaires like is Singapore. Hi, this is RN Bhaskar from Bhaskar Ki Business Baatein. This is the channel that brings to you policy analysis, conversations, and an occasional business story. And today, we are going to talk about another policy story, and it is about migration and the flight of wealth. And just before I go ahead, please remember the usual things that I make a request to you for. Click the subscribe button if you have not subscribed already. Click the like button, it helps us. And most of all, tell your friends about us. We've grown, we are continuing to grow, but we could grow faster. And today, as I said, the story is on flight of capital. One of the agencies in the world which talks about flight capital every year, year after year, is Henley and Partners. And they just released a report on the flight of capital. And the first thing that you're surprised at is that the flight of capital from all the countries collectively has tripled since 2014. In 10 years, it's tripled from 50,000 to a huge number, and the chart is there on your screen. It has increased from around 50,000 to 165,000 million, which is 165 billion. The first question is, why is capital flying from one country to another? And the answers are many. One of them has to do with geopolitics. As countries become uncertain, as there's a war, as there is a crisis or there's a coup, you have a situation where capital flees. You have countries where policies are poor, money flies out. And you have countries where changing geopolitics makes the host country weaker, like it's happening today with the US. And the figures stop at 2024. It's not taken the post-Trump era. And I'm sure next year when we visit this, you'll find the US also slipping. And the UK, which used to be a haven for all black money. Every Russian, everybody who had black money would buy a real estate in the UK. Now that money is flying out. And that leads us to the question, what happened to India? And yes, among the Indian millionaires who have left India is a famous person, Virat Kohli. Two reasons why. One is cricketing days are over, so he doesn't have to stay in India to be selected on the cricket team. But two, he'd rather live with his money overseas where the conditions are better, where education's better, law and order is better, and if there are any advertisements or any sponsorships where he's required, he'll fly down, take the money and go back with him. This is what India is coming to. Henley's figures seem to be a little understated. It says 23,000 millionaires left India to go overseas between 2014 and 2018. Thereafter, there were 5,000 and then it came down. Why? It's important to listen to what Amit Mitra had to say in a very, very oft-quoted interview that about 35,000 HNIs had left India between 2014 till about 2022. So Henley's figures seem to be a little understated. Then it went to 5,000 a year and then it came down. Why did it come down? Because by the time many countries were tightening their immigration laws. And because immigration laws were being tightened, the number came down, not because people didn't want to flee, but because the laws had been tightened. In any case, the number is large. When 3,500, 4,000, 5,000 Indians leave India, That number is large because of another reason. Unlike China, which creates lots of millionaires, India creates very few millionaires. And out of the very few millionaires, when 3,500 leave, you have a crisis. India doesn't like talking about this crisis. But it is obvious that when a person with money leaves the country, he takes away with him the possibility of investing in this country, of creating jobs in this country, and of multiplying wealth in this country. Look at another table. Even if you don't consider millionaires and just look at fund flows, you'll find that Indians have begun investing more money overseas than in India, leading India to a negative net FDI situation. Something is wrong with India. What could be wrong? Well, my guess is Henley doesn't mention clearly. In fact, Henley believes that India might become a haven for foreign exchange. I don't agree there. And the reason why money has been fleeing from India is because the investment climate is not as attractive as it was before. Which is that earlier we had a positive FDI, now we have a negative, net negative FDI. Second, the rupee is weakening. If the rupee weakens, it is best to keep money overseas and bring it back when the weakening is stopped, because you'll get more rupees back once again. And there's a third reason. And the third reason is stability, security for the rest of the family in the future. Taxation also plays a role. And when you look at these numbers, you begin to find out that money has been trying to run away to safer havens. But before we go to safer havens, let's look at which countries benefited from cash flows and which countries suffered negative cash flows. Let's look at the countries which are the most positive millionaires reaching out there. Of course, till 2024, the US was the most attractive. But surpassing US was the UK. As I said, UK is a very interesting country. Look at any person with ill-gotten gains, he first parks it in the UK and then decides where else. UK has flexible foreign exchange laws, and UK was a financial capital in terms of exchanges and in terms of fund flows. So many millionaires settled down in the UK. And the number 2 is the US. Number 3 is Italy. I think the ranking will change next year because the US will slip further because money has been flying out of the US ever since Trump took over. What about India and China? Interestingly, India saw 3,500, look at the bottom, India saw 3,500 people leaving India. China also saw negative growth. So people leaving China, but as I said, China's figures may appear large, but the fact is that they create many more millionaires. The people who leave China are a smaller percentage than the people who stay in India, than India. But again, China's figures can be misleading. Look at the other state which has money, and there's a positive flow of millionaires, and that's Hong Kong, which is part of China. So money has fled from China, millionaires have fled from China, but millionaires have gone to Hong Kong. So net, China hasn't lost much. But India has no other destination. India has lost heavily. Let's look at the safe havens. Which are the countries where most millionaires flock to? Which are the safe havens in the world? The safest place that most millionaires like is Singapore. Then you have other countries, and there is also the UAE. And estimates suggest that UAE will gradually climb up to even number 1 because Singapore's laws are strict. UAE is flexible. So you'll suddenly find that even these rankings, which are as of 2024, will change next year because between last year and this year, 3 things happened. 1, Trump came to power. 2, the war in Ukraine. So black money which is to fly out from Ukraine is not flying out anymore. And 3, the war in Israel has decimated that country. It's on the verge of bankruptcy. And if you listen to experts, they will tell you the truce between Israel and Iran was called because Israel wanted the truce. It had shells, artillery shells, for just 10 more days. It desperately wanted a truce. Israel is broken. And that again means the flight of millionaires from Israel has already taken place. Now there'll be none. Maybe they leave, but they're not millionaires. At present, the borders are closed, so many Israelis can't leave. Net, you find the world is an unsafe place. Millionaires will always try to go from one place to another, wherever the money is safe, wherever the returns are good, and wherever they believe that they can move around easily and the laws are less strict. What about India? Well, India has to get its act together. Most millionaires don't like India. They have been leaving. 3,500 out of a small pool of millionaires is a very large percentage. Hence, you have a situation where India will have to get its act together, otherwise India will see a bigger flight of capital. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you again for the next episode. Have a great time. And yes, please remember to click the like button and most important, tell all your friends about us. Thank you. You'll find us now every morning at 8:15 a.m. on weekdays, where we come out with daily news, or better still, news behind the news. Do watch it.